Oops, there we are. Hey, welcome to Integrative Preparedness. I'm Steve Smith. I want to talk a little bit tonight about accountability. It's a term that's been thrown around quite a bit, and I think that people are using it a lot without understanding kind of its proper meaning and really how they ought to be thinking about it. It's evening. It's nighttime. I didn't have a chance to get to make one today. Got kind of busy. So I'm relaxing now. So if you have one, I'm relaxing. So if you have one, I wonder if this is a violation of something or other. Who knows? Have one with me. Excuse me while I take a sip, and I'll get right back to it. Oh, that's good. American beer. I was talking with a bunch of guys last night. I think it was City Noise. Last night, Suburban Noise. Talking to a bunch of guys last night, and talking about groups and things like that. And somebody brought up, and somehow they got to talking about accountability, and this new idea of accountability. And I know some people will say, well, that's not a new idea. No, the whole idea isn't, but the way that it's kind of approached now is. And I expressed an opinion about it to them that was different than what they had thought, and explained to them why I thought that way. And it reminded me of a situation with a friend of mine many years ago. And I want to kind of apply that to people and how they think about accountability within groups and things like that. Now, I had a buddy, a good buddy, like a brother. Still do. I don't see him much anymore, but great guy. We were very close, and he was one of these real hard chargers. He was a great success, extremely successful, top of his game in his particular field. Always had 10 things going on and 10 things waiting in the wings for something to do. Ran his business extremely well. Top name in the business, internationally, not just nationally. And a big promoter of other things. He always had something else coming onto his plate. He had problems with his weight. He let his weight get away from him, and that caused problems with his health, of course, which took away from. Well, I'll get to that in a minute. I stopped past his office one day, and we were just shooting the breeze. And he told me about that he had hooked up with a doctor that was going to help him with his weight, losing the weight. And he explained to me, he says, he was pretty excited about it because his weight was holding him back. I mean, not professionally, but, when you're carrying around too much, it affects your health, it affects your lifestyle, it affects what you can do and what you can enjoy and what you can't. So he was pretty excited about that. And he was telling me about this doctor and how the doctor had put him on a diet plan, but then also he was to check in with him, I think every week or something like that. I'm not sure what it was. And he said, he says, what I haven't had, he says, I'm not accountable to anyone. He says, I'm not, there's no one over me. I'm not accountable to my wife. I'm not accountable to anybody else. But now I'm accountable to this doctor. And I don't usually disagree with my friends. I mean, it's not that I won't. It's just that, for the most part, everybody, thinks for themselves, is pretty sharp. And if we don't agree on something, it's not for me to tell them that they're wrong. But on this one, I had to. And And I explained to him, I said, um, you have been accountable. You are accountable for what you do. Your weight has been a detriment to your life, to your family's life, to your wife, to your children. You haven't been able to do the things that they, you could have and should have been able to do with them if you hadn't let yourself go like this. Um, and while I'm sure they they love you no less, um, you have let yourself go, and you have failed in your responsibility to be the best you can be for them. And not only that, but, and he was a believer, as am I said, we are all accountable to God. Now, I know that not everyone here is a believer. That's your decision. It's my belief that we, I, and he, and anyone who is a believer, is accountable to God, who has given us this life, who has given us our bodies, our minds, and all of this, and that we are to act responsibly in this. And that's the greater uh, power to whom we are accountable. And I think too many people, and he listened to me, and I could tell that he kind of had to chew on that for a minute. But then he said he understood that I was right. He had not understood his responsibility to always be his best, because for others, for those who he thought of as under him, because he was the boss, right? He was the top dog. Too often people, when they get up to the top, they don't think that they're accountable because there's nobody who can tell them what to do. That's not really what accountability is. So when I was talking to this group the other night, I kind of went through this and I explained this. I know that these buzzwords and these phrases are thrown around a lot in management today, and I won't go into that part. But these are phrases that just kind of irritate me. That and stakeholder and record owner and things like that. It's just silliness to me. They're made up names for things that people sitting around in meetings need to be able to say, okay, what can we call the people who are involved in this? It's a life by committee mentality. And if you are responsible for yourself, and if you are responsible to other people, or responsible for doing certain things for which you will be accountable, you can't be doing it because you have other people holding you to account. Does that make any sense? That's not that's not the mark of a self-sufficient or strong personality. If you are a person, and 30 years ago, you didn't hear these terms being thrown around all the time because there was an assumption, maybe farther back than that, I don't know. I always forget how old I am. 40, 45 years ago. You didn't hear these things thrown around because there was this basic assumption within society that people were accountable for what they were supposed to do. They were responsible for certain things, and they were accountable for the accomplishment or how that came out. Nobody needed to give them terms. Nobody needed to sit around. Nobody needed a group to hold them accountable. And I think that's what's gotten in the way of a lot of people as they try to find themselves. And I'm sure this doesn't apply to many of you who are watching this. So this is for to an extent, because I know a lot of you are probably nodding your head and going, "Yeah, that's right." But other people who are coming along, maybe newer people who are coming into this, don't get wrapped up in this. You need a group to hold you accountable. You ought to be the one holding yourself accountable. And if you can't do that, then you need to strengthen yourself. You need to strengthen your mind and your heart and your psyche. And that's how you develop strength in these things. It's not, you see, when you want a group or you even allow a group to hold you accountable, it's admitting to yourself and to others that you're not able to do it on your own. And in my circle, none of us consider that anyone is holding us to account other than ourselves, nor would any of us assume that we could hold anyone else to account, because we hold each other in high enough regard to know that each person is going to follow that code of conduct or that code of honor, that code of living that they have developed for themselves and in which they believe. And it's that to God, or to that code of living to which we measure ourselves and are held accountable. So I think I would not be comfortable in any group that says, okay, now we are each going to hold each other accountable. Okay, that's that's starting from the wrong place. That's starting from the place of an assumption that people need others to hold them to account. Now, I know that there are a lot of people out there that that's the only way they can do it. And for those, okay, then do that. Better that than not having anything. But understand that if you need others to hold you to account, you're not carrying the whole load. And you need to develop the ability and the strength to carry your whole load. Until you do, you're not really a dependable, 100% dependable part of the team or any group or anything like that. I know there's a lot of these that life has changed, and we verbalize a lot of things. Well, I don't, but some of us old dogs don't. And I know some of you old dogs will get on here and have your opinions on this too. But there's a lot of talking going on nowadays. Everything needs to be talked about. And it didn't used to be like that either. And I am talking on YouTube, I know, but I'm giving my opinion on this. And I think that a lot of people can learn from this. There didn't used to be the feeling that there had to be a lot of discussion about things. You just did what had to be done. Everybody around you had the same understanding of what had to be done, how it had to be done, and there was an assumption that people who were worth their salt were going to do it. And when they didn't do it or couldn't do it or whatever, well, okay, then that showed everybody what that person was about, right? Excuse me, just say, I'm still getting over that, whatever it was I had. Still got a scratchy throat, so if you'll allow me just a medicinal moment. And if you went and grabbed your own, I hope you joined me in that. I'm going to finish this after I get done with this. It's a beautiful night, and it's a beautiful night to the rest of this and go play with the kids for a little bit. But I think there's far too much talking nowadays. And there's there's far too much aggressive motivation. And I've made videos on my opinion on, I called it the myth of motivation. Real motivation comes from within. If it comes from outside, it's either coercion or something else. It's not real motivation. And so that kind of falls into the same thing. If you need other people to motivate you, And if any of you are motivated by what I say, I'm not a high intensity guy. I don't come on here and try to be a cheerleader. Um, I speak to the things that you already kind of know, but maybe hearing me bounce it off makes you think about it, or think about it a different way, or agree, or whatever. And like I say, there's a lot of you guys that you're right on the same page with me, and this is really for people who are still kind of coming up and developing, and they need a voice to kind of we live in a world today that not everybody had the same kind of fathers that we had. And I get a kick out of when people say, I really look at you as fatherly advice. Well, since guys my age, we still think we're 35. That sounds strange, but if I can help in that way, then great. But um, just think about that. If you need if you need other people to motivate you, that's showing you that you need to develop your own internals a little bit more, so that the motivation comes from you. And the motivation really is nothing more than, hey, here's what needs to be done, and it's up to me to do it and do it right, right? And the same thing kind of with accountability. You don't need other people outside of you holding you to account. If you do, you are abdicating one of your primary responsibilities as a man or a woman. Okay, and that is, oh, I don't want to hold myself to this standard. Somebody else, please hold me to it. Okay, how often do we hear, whether it's a diet, whether it's losing weight, whether it's, doesn't matter what it is, whether it's getting out there and getting to work and getting things done. If you need other people to make you do it, that is a clear indication to you that that's an area for you to work on and develop yourself into a fully integrated and strong human being that will do things that need to be done when they need to be done, the way they need to be done, because that's the kind of person they are, and other people are depending on you to do it. So, anyway, those are my thoughts, just kind of brought up from conversation I got into with the guys the other night, and you know, uh, that's what I think. Um, if that if that has rung a bell at all, if that helps at all, if that makes you think about it in a different way, great. If you have a little more to say about this yourself, like I say, I think I've got the smartest commenters uh, on YouTube, because every time I make one of these, I'm starting to look forward more to reading the comments than I am making the videos, because I know you all have such great things to add. So please feel free to do it. I'm sure that there's a lot of people out there who will read them that will get something from them. So anyway, I'll leave it at that. Remember that we prepare well today in order to live well tomorrow. And being your own motivator and holding yourself to account and not needing others to do it is extremely important in being able to prepare well today for a good life tomorrow. So you all have a good day. I am going to keep on enjoying this. Hope you have something for it too. And I'll talk to you later. Bye bye.